Hello students, as discussed earlier we are starting a prelims module which is completely concentrated on the prelims orientation, right? So in this module I will be dealing with a subject called as geography, and in the geography module we will be giving all the insights which are important for the prelims of the civil service examination. So in this session I will be giving the importance of geography, what to read in geography, what not to read in geography, and how to tackle the questions on the geography. So if we go into the video, right? If we go into the video, see, our subject is geography. Our subject is, yeah, our subject is geography, right? So it is the first area where most of the students or most of the aspirants will be failing, right? But because geography title itself has a different logics together, right? So there is a other subject called as geology. There is another subject called as geology. Geology and geography both go hand in hand, right? Geology is an study oriented subject. Geology is study of geography. It is study of earth. It is not study of geography, it is study of earth. So what is geography? Geography is also study of earth. Geography is also study of earth, but where is the difference? Where is the difference between geology and geography? Right? The difference is geology is the study of earth. That means whatever earth is having, we are studying all the quantities and qualities of that earth, whereas physical quantities and chemical quantities that will be called as geology. But what is geography? Geography is the study of that with relationship with a human being. That means everything we are comparing with the human being, everything we are relating with the human being, right? That means this is important for human being, this is not important for human being. Here we are understanding the link between nature and human being. This is called as geography. So in our civil services we have the subject called as geography, we don't have the subject called as geology, right? See, to differentiate the difference between geology and geography, let me give an example. For example, if we study about lithosphere, for example, if we study about lithosphere or we are studying about atmosphere, right? So these two are the important topics in both the subject, geology and geography. So lithosphere and atmosphere. So what we are studying in the geology, in lithosphere, we are studying all the layers of the earth, right? Whatever layers are there, interior of that, we are studying about earthquakes, we are studying about seismology, we are studying about tsunamis, we are studying about everything, and we are studying about the layers of the earth, interior of the earth, crust to mantle, core, right? We are studying the materials which are present inside the earth, we are studying about the minerals which are present inside that, we are studying about the temperature, pressure, everything that comes under geology, right? When we come to geography, in the geography also again we study all the aspects which are there in the geology, but we are studying with the human being, right? That means here there is a layer called as asthenosphere, right? Because of asthenosphere, today life is possible on that. Because of asthenosphere, we are having 7 continents, we are having 5 oceans. Because of the asthenosphere, we are having fold mountains, we are having block mountains, we are having Himalayas. Because of Himalayas, we are having India. Because of Himalayas, we are having India. Because of India, there is huge population. As there is huge population, there is very much demographic dividend, and India is becoming a superpower. So everything is related. So study of that relation will be called as geography. In our examination also, must UPSC is asking questions related to geography. It is not asking questions related to geology. So before we start our preparation or before we study geography, be careful that we are not going into the subject, we are not doing a case study, right? Because these case studies are for PG students and PhD students, right? We need the general essence of the geography. Please be very clear, we need general essence, but this will be called a general knowledge or this will be called as common sense, right? In UPSC, particularly in the prelims examination, common sense will be tested. So be very clear what exactly to read in the geography, right? That means whatever we are reading in geography, that should be related, to the importance of the human being, right? Now, so what are the topics we'll be having? What are the topics we'll be having in the geography, right? See, there are many topics in the geography, right? If you see the syllabus, if you see the syllabus given by the various institutes and various authorities, if you see the syllabus, there is everything in the geography. But to be precise, for important for the examination, right? See, the main fundamental in the UPSC examination is remember these words, right? Remember this word. What is important? What is important is not important. What is not important is most important. But here we should decode it, right? See, while discussing the subjects, while reading the subjects about geography or any subject in the prelims, see, knowing what is important is not important. Knowing what is not important is most important. But see, because in the prelims there are 100 questions, right? But it is not mandatory for us to solve all the 100 questions. It is not mandatory to answer all the 100 questions because cutoff is always nearly 50%. Cutoff is always nearly 50%. That means my UPSC is directly saying that if we are good in 50% of the question, so to be on the safer side, it is 60% of the question, right? If we are good in the 60% of question, that means if you attempt 60 questions perfectly, if you attempt 60 questions correctly, but there is no need to attempt the other 40% of the questions. There is no need to attempt other 40 questions, right? But that means it is indirectly it is saying that we should neglect which is not important, right? But that means 40 questions are such questions that you should be neglecting it. That means you should identify which questions not to answer. You should be identifying which questions to answer. So for this, what is important is not important, what is not important is important. But this you can see in the geography. Geography gives us this kind of elimination techniques, right? But geography is such a subject where we easily do the mistakes, right? That is why understanding and analyzing the syllabus of geography is highly important, right? Understanding and analyzing the syllabus of geography is highly important. Now if we come to the syllabus of geography, right, see, there is a huge syllabus of geography, but in this we are only taken important topics. For example, the first topic of geography is solar system. I'm sorry. Yeah. First topic of geography is solar system. So what is solar system, right? So this is the basic subject which we will be reading from our childhood, right? So even in our geography we are having solar system, but when we come to the prelim, just analyze this solar system is important for the examination or not, right? Yes, this solar system is important, but reading about the planets, knowing their density, knowing their size, knowing their weight is not at all important because no questions will be on that, right? But this solar system is important if at all any current affairs are present, right? So for example, any solar eclipse, any lunar eclipse, right? Or there is something called as red moon, right? To know the concepts, we should analyze the solar system, right? That means from this questions may be or questions may not be, right? So in this session, I identified some of the important areas from where the mandatory questions will be coming, right? So if we go into that, so first important topic will be physical geography. Physical geography is studying about biosphere. Here I divided into 3 layers, but it is studying about biosphere. What is biosphere? Biosphere is the area where these 3 elements are meeting. That means if I take a Venn diagram, if we take a Venn diagram, one is atmosphere, one is hydrosphere, and third is lithosphere. The area where these 3 are meeting, this will be called as an biosphere, right? To understand biosphere, what is biosphere? Biosphere is life. So to understand why life is possible on the earth, right? So because it is basic understanding that earth is the only planet where we are having the life. So to understand biosphere, for us atmosphere is important, which discusses about climate. Lithosphere is important, which discusses about earth, and hydrosphere is important, which discusses about water. So these 3 are the mandatory topics from where you will be having the question. So we should have complete observation of geography, complete analysis of geography in these 3 elements. After that, then important topics will be Indian geography. In the Indian geography, we will be having in a physiographic divisions, then we will be having river system, then we will be having Indian climate, then we will be having human geography. Coming to human geography, again human geography will be related to the world, human geography will be related to the India. In human geography, questions will be related to the current affairs. That means if I take 2 objects, if I take 2 sets, one will be theory, second will be practical. One will be theory, second will be practical. This practical will be called as application part. So in physical geography we are reading the theory part. The same theory part is applied in the application part, right? So first analyze the topics of the geography. First analyze how to read the geography, right? But this will be getting better analyzation when we go into the question. So before going into some basic questions, let us understand the pattern of 2025, right? We'll see all the questions of the geography questions of 2025, right? Now we'll see the questions, right? See, there are nearly 13 to 14 questions which are given in this geography in 2025, and the point to be adding here is geography is such a subject. Every year you will be having minimum 13 questions, and maximum may reach up to 22 questions or 25 questions, right? Sometimes there are 25 questions in geography, right? That means geography is a subject, on an average it is giving you 15 questions mandatorily. That means if you understand the basic concept of geography, that is basic common sense of the life, then we can easily have these 15 questions in our pocket, right? That means geography is understanding what is happening in our life, what is happening surrounding us, right? Geography is the study of earth related to the human being, right? How clouds are having effect on me, how ocean is having effect on me, how birds are having effect on me, because everything part of nature, everything part of earth has some relation with the human being. That is what. So if we analyze 2025 paper, see, first question is from the physical geography, right? But that means it is from the theoretical part. So it is from the theoretical part. See the first question. Scientific studies suggest that shift is taking place in the Earth's rotation and axis. And second statement is solar flares or associated coronal mass ejections bombarded the Earth's outermost atmosphere with tremendous amount of energy. Statement 3, as Earth polar ice melts, the water tends to move towards the equator, right? That means if we analyze these three statements, but these three statements are the topic from climatology. They are the topics from the climatology. But that means recently what is happening around that, what is happening in the earth, what is happening around that, but that question has been given, right? But it is nothing to do with the subject, right? But it is just your understanding. See, but this question can be easily answered by our grandfathers, because they may not have the subject, but they have experience. They saw sun from their childhood, they saw corona from their childhood, they saw solar flares from their childhood, right? Most this knowledge which comes from the experience, but the same thing they are asking. That means here UPSC is expecting at the age of 18 to 25 you should have the experience of 68%, but that is only when you can easily administer the whole set of the society. Because once you become for example, if you become an IAS officer, right? For IAS officer, what is your main criteria, right? But the goal of IAS officer to become the district collector, right? Once you become district collector in the district, but there are nearly 10 lakhs people. Among the 10 lakhs people, there are children, there are youth, there are adults, and there are older people, right? How you tackle everyone, but to tackle everyone you should have the experience of the older person, right? That is what reflecting in this question, right? Here question is directly on our observation, right? But we'll discuss some of the other question. I'm not going into the question, but I'm giving you how the questions are. This is one kind of question completely from the physical geography. My second type of question is, it is human geography or map pointing of the world, right? See, they gave some countries: Bolivia, Brazil, Colombia, Ecuador, Paraguay, and Venezuela, right? If we see the countries, but here what basic foundation we need to have? Basic foundation we need to have is, what are the 7 continents on the world, what are the important countries in the 7 continents? But this is the basic understanding. Without knowing this, we cannot even have the mind, have the idea to attempt the examination. This is the basic knowledge, right? But they gave the number, they gave some countries. These countries are from the South America, right? Manam. To add into this, UPSC always has a special focus on South America, Africa. It always has a special focus on South America, Africa. In a, like prior to 10 years, it was having focus on Asia also, but presently Asia has been reduced. It is having highly focus on South America and Africa, right? So if you analyze this question, right, they are the countries of South America, and see the question: Andes mountains passes through how many of the above countries, right? If we be little vague in this context, this is 5th class quiz. This is the quiz for a 5th class student, right? This is normal quiz for a school child, right? Because South America is a coordinate in one of the class, right? In that class, this is the question. So a 5th class question is given in our prelims examination. See, understand the level of the UPSC, right? My level of the UPSC is very high because it is always keeping the question on the common sense basis. It is always keeping the question on the very low level basis, because as we are graduate, right, our thinking will be in the higher level, but questions are in the lower level, right? It is easy from lower level to higher level, but it is difficult coming from higher level to lower level. That means you should be at the higher level, you should think at the lower level, and you should also be able to think at the higher level. That is what UPSC is asking from you. See, the question is very simple. Andes mountains passes through how many of the countries, right? So for this basic geography, basic map pointing is important, right? In our childhood, I don't know about present generation childhood, but in my childhood, our social faculties were very strict, right? But the only teacher whom the complete school doesn't like is social teacher, because he was very strict. Why he was very strict? He asked us to analyze world map for nearly whole class, right? That means we should just stay at the world map and just look up the countries, right? That means if we do this exercise, this question is very easy, because Andes passes through the western margin of the South America. When Andes is passing through the western margin of South America, it is very easy. Which countries come in the western margin, which countries doesn't come in western margin? So it is very basic question. See the third question. Third question is, now here where UPSC tricks are unveiled, right? Well, see, consider the following water bodies: Lake Tanganyika, Lake Tonle Sap, and Patos Lagoon, right? Now by seeing this three names, we think that question will be difficult. But once analyzed, right? Consider the following water bodies. Through how many of them equator passes? Again, this is very simple question. Equator passes through 11 countries. Basic 7th class question. Equator passes through 11 countries. If equator is passing, what is the condition of equator? Wherever there is equator, there is huge forest, there is thick forest, right? There are very big lakes. If there is a very big lake and it is important, that will be in our books, that we will be know by this preparation. If we don't know all the lakes, that means here answer is none. See, my UPSC, if there is an option called as none, 95% answer will be none, right? In our session, I will be giving you the techniques how to identify for which answer will be none of the above, right? See, again, this question doesn't have any rocket science in it, right? It is a basic question, right? So one question is from physical geography, one question is from the map pointing, other question is also from the map pointing, but depending upon the current affairs, right? Again, if we come to the fourth question, see, again it is from the physical geography. First is from the climatology, second is from the lithosphere, right? Again, if we come to the fifth question, see, physiography, again the question is from the atmosphere, right? And come to sixth question, again physical geography, question is from the atmosphere, right? Come to seventh question, physical geography, question is from the lithosphere. Come to 8th question, again it is physical geography, question is from the atmosphere, right? Now when we come to the 9th question, it is physical geography, question is from the current affairs. Now by saying India, we cannot call it as Indian geography, it belongs to the current affairs, right? But next coming to 10th question, again it is human geography, that means it is, they asked about the map pointing or the coordinates, again it is physical geography. That means, if we analyze all the questions, UPSC is asking questions from the concept basis, and this is 2025 question paper. If we go to the 2024 question paper, 2023 question paper, there are no questions on the world geography, there are more questions on the Indian geography. If we come here, there are questions on the world geography, but there are no questions on the Indian geography. But that means it is how the examiner is playing on our mind, right? See what normal student do is, they will take 5 to 6 years of question paper, they will analyze the question paper and they will think that question paper will be in the same pattern. But this is UPSC examination. What is the other definition of UPSC examination? The other definition of UPSC examination is unpredictable civil services, right? But that means you cannot predict which question will be coming, you cannot predict which question will not come, right? But in this context, I want to add a current affairs question here. I want to really add a current affairs question here. How UPSC will be asking it? But this question may be in this coming 2026 question paper. I am saying maybe, right? But don't think that this question will come, but this is the aspect how UPSC will be asking the question right now. But presently we are having a current affairs. Let me give you the synopsis how the questions will be asked. Right? But presently we are having something called a current affairs called as Ethiopian So we are having a current affairs called as Ethiopian volcano. Ethiopian volcano which has been erupted, right? My Ethiopian volcano erupted after 12,000 years, right? Now, normally what we'll be thinking is, so it erupted almost 12,000 years. That means how many types of volcanoes are there? But this is the normal level questions because there are three types of volcano: active volcano, dormant volcano, dead volcano, right? My active volcano, normally what students think is active volcano, it erupts frequently. Dead volcano is it erupts 100 to 200 years once, but the dead volcano is it does not erupt at all. Even dead volcanoes erupt, volcanoes erupt, but we cannot say when they will be erupting, right? But once they erupted this year, after 1000 or 2000 years, they may not erupt, right? But even dead volcanoes will be erupting. This is one kind of question can be asked. But what is the strategy of the UPSC? How UPSC will be thinking, right? Now the topic is Ethiopian volcano erupted and the smoke. My smoke here is the ashes. The smokes reached up to tropopause. Smokes reached up to tropopause. But this is the topic, right? But by taking this topic, how question can be framed, right? Where is tropopause? Tropopause is nearly 8 to 18 kilometers. At poles, it is near 8 kilometers. At equator, it is nearly 18 kilometers. That means smoke went up to the height of 18 kilometers, right? That means when this huge smoke is coming, now what is the current affairs? Current affairs is this Ethiopian volcano smoke is affecting pollution of Delhi. Ethiopian volcano smoke is affecting pollution of Delhi. How question can be framed? Question will be simple. Which of the following factors are affecting the pollution in Delhi which is caused by the Ethiopia, as Ethiopia and Delhi are thousands of miles apart, right? If you see the map, right, Delhi is in the Asia, Ethiopia is in the Africa, right? Delhi and Ethiopia does not fall in the same latitude also. Delhi and Ethiopia does not fall in same continent. But how smokes of Ethiopia are affecting Delhi? This is what important in the UPSC understanding of UPSC examination, right? Now, here what can be the question? Question is which of the following factors are influencing the air quality index of Delhi because of the Ethiopian volcanic eruption, right? So the options will be tropical cyclones, monsoons, western disturbances, and planetary winds, right? See, in the question they are asking about current affairs. In the option they are giving the topics of the geography, right? Here you should have the keen observation and linking of the subject, right? Now, when Ethiopian volcano erupted, on the November, right? If there is a real aspirant, immediately if the month is November, immediately what will be coming into the mind of the aspirant is we will be having western disturbances. Immediately what should be coming to your mind? Western disturbances, right? Why western disturbances? Why Delhi is polluted? Delhi is highly polluted. Why Delhi is highly polluted? Because if we take India like this, but Delhi is here. Let us consider Delhi is here, and here we are having Punjab and Haryana. Delhi is here. Himalayas will be coming like this. Now, normally all India will be having their harvest in the June. That is why we call it as Kharif. Because rainfalls will be coming in the June, because monsoons will be coming in the June. 80% of India will be having agriculture in the June. But there are two states. From the ancient time, there are two states, Punjab, Haryana, that does not depend upon the monsoon. Right? Even the monsoon comes to Punjab and Haryana, Punjab and Haryana does not depends on monsoon. Punjab and Haryana depends upon a special wind which is directly coming from the west. But this will be called as Mediterranean crisis or western disturbances. In winter, what happens is, in winter, Mediterranean Sea, which is between Africa and Europe and Asia. But this Mediterranean Sea is surrounded by the desert. When it is surrounded by the desert, in winters, Mediterranean Sea will become little warm when compared to the land. When it becomes little warm when compared to the land, moisture rises straight above. When moisture rises straight above, as it is the November, polar belts will be coming down. Actually, polar belts should be near Arctic pole. As it is the winter, polar belts will be coming down, and these polar belts are having something called as jet streams. Polar belts are having something called as jet streams. Jet streams are the special winds. Jet streams are the special winds which will be coming directly from west to east. Normally, no wind directly flows in the single direction. It is from northeast to southwest or southwest to north. This is the direction. But this polar jet streams directly flow west to east, right? So they are picking up the moisture from the Mediterranean Sea, and this moisture is directly coming or Punjab and Haryana, because they are coming at the height of 4 kilometers, right? When they are coming at the height of 4 kilometers, there is no obstacle to stop them. These winds are directly coming to India. We are having Himalayas. So when Himalayas are stopping them, here we will be having the rain. But these clouds are important. These winds are important for giving snowfall and giving rain in Punjab, Haryana, Himachal Pradesh, right? But they does not depend on monsoons, they depend on the western disturbances. So if you are a real aspirant, immediately when it is November, when you think it is November, two things should be coming into our mind. One is pollution of Delhi. Second is western disturbances. Why pollution of Delhi? See, there is an ancient practice in India, right? Before onset of the rainy season, before coming of the monsoons, all over India, what people do is they burn their fields, right? Because they want to keep the fields ready, plowed and ready for the rain, right? So before plowing, all the fields will be burnt. This is Aryan practice, right? But this is the Aryan culture. So this was the Aryan practice. So Punjab, Haryana follows Aryan practice. So before onset of the rains, what Punjab and Haryana does, Punjab and Haryana burn all the fields, right? So when they are having rainfall, they are having rainfall in November, right? But that means they are burning their fields in October and November, right? But the smoke which lifted from the Punjab and Haryana, as we are having western disturbances, it is coming to Delhi, and Delhi is completely polluted. How much Delhi is polluted? Normal air quality index should not be more than 30. Delhi's air quality index is never less than 300. Right? Where is 30, where is 300? Delhi is highly polluted because of Punjab and Haryana smoke, right? Adding to this, in November, what happened? Volcano erupted. In November, what happened? Volcano erupted. Smoke is now coming from west, right? But that means it is adding smoke to Punjab and Haryana. But that is why Indian government is highly worried about Ethiopian volcanic eruption. See, this is the link. Link is very easy. If you have the basics of the climatology, right? I'm not saying you have the pillars of geography or you have the pillars of western disturbances, but have the basics of climatology. If you have the basics of climatology, this topic is very important. If everything goes good, this can be your question. Am I clear? So this is how UPSC will be asking the question, right? That is why rough paper is given in your UPSC question paper. In CSAT 1, in general knowledge, why government is wasting 2 papers and giving you rough sheet, right? Because they are giving you hint that question paper is not easy. Until and unless you keep pen on the paper and work out some rough, you will not get the answer, right? No question in UPSC is easy, particularly in geography. You cannot get the answer until and unless you do the basics, right? Because questions are from the basics. Am I clear? So this is how the questions will be. Let us see about some questions which given in the previous years, right? See, first question. This was given in UPSC 2025. Let us analyze the question. Scientific studies suggest that there is a shift taking place in the Earth's rotational axis. Here keywords. Always understand the keywords. Keywords is if you remove that keyword, the meaning of the question will be changing. In UPSC, analyzing the keywords are important. So what is the keyword? Keyword here is, normally we think that keyword is rotation and axis, but keyword here is there is a shift. If we remove the word called as shift, the meaning of the sentence will be changing. So here the keyword is shift, right? Shift means some changes happening in the rotation, some changes happening in the axis. What is axis? Axis is 23 and of we have the tilt of the earth axis, that is 23 and of degrees centigrade, 23 and of degrees angle, right? But in the same way we are having the rotation. What is rotation? Rotation is approximately 24 hours. We are having rotation approximately 24 hours. They are saying that rotation of the earth has been changing, at the same time tilt of the earth axis has been changing, right? Now for this, again, basic physical geography is important. What is basic physical geography now? But don't take both, right? Don't take both rotation and axis. Analyze any one, right? See, here and is important. And meaning sometimes it is taken as either this or this. Sometimes it is taken as this and this, right? Sometimes it is taken as both. Sometimes it is taken as either this or this. Here you take either this or this. Rotation of the earth is changing, axis of the earth is changing. We will analyze one. Really, axis of the earth is changing. For this, physical geography concept. What is physical geography concept? Earth is having ice age cycle. That means for some years earth will be ice ball, for some years earth will be hot ball, right? That is why complete earth will be ice, complete earth will be hot. This basic details we know, right? When we know this basic details, why this is happening? Because tilt is from 22 to 24. Sometimes earth will be tilted at 22 angle, sometimes earth will be tilted at 24 angle. When earth is having the angle of 24, it is cold. When earth is having angle of 22, it is hot. Presently we are 23 and off. That means we are going from 24 to 22. So earth is having the shift. So first statement is correct. First statement is correct, right? Now, so once come to the options. If you come to the options, analyze by over checking the options, we should see all the options, because here like only one or two, like that options were not given. Options are little difficult. So we'll come to the second statement. Second statement is, see, first statement relates to the axis of the earth. Second is relating to solar flares or associated coronal mass ejections bombarded in the earth's atmosphere. Here they are asking about aurora. Recently in your Instagram, again there is much knowledge in Instagram, right? How you are using Instagram, that depends, right? Because Instagram will be posting your reels about Norway, it will be posting your reels about Finland, it is posting reels about Iceland, right? Norway, Iceland, Finland, what all these three are having in common? All these three are having in common is northern lights. There are green lights which are flowing over Iceland, which are flowing over Greenland, which are flowing over Finland and all, right? But most of the tourism is going towards the northern lights. This northern lights is aurora. But this aurora is because of the solar flares, right? But that means second question is on the climatology. Second question is completely on the climatology, second statement. And third statement is, as the Earth's polar ice melts, even this statement is correct, as the Earth's polar ice melts, the water tends to move towards the equator, because equator is bulgy. What is the shape of the Earth? Shape of the Earth is geoid. This is the shape of the Earth, right? So equator is bulgy, pole is short, right? Obviously there will be more waters in the equator, less waters in the pole. That is easy to understand. Now all three statements are correct. When all three statements are correct, what is the answer? This is where you should analyze the question. UPSC is difficult not in the question, but it is difficult in the options. Again I am saying this, remember, UPSC is not difficult in the questions, UPSC is difficult in the options, right? Questions are same, but options are difficult, right? But to understand this, see, 5 plus 4 is 9. Clear? 5 square minus 4 square is also 9. Where the way the concept is changing. Concept is changing how they are asking the question. Concept is changing how they are asking the question, right? This is what UPSC is. Subject is same, but how they are asking question, that is different. See the question. Which of the following correct in respect of above statement? Both statement 1 and 3 are correct. Both of them explain statement 1. But these three statements are three different topics, right? But they don't have any interrelation. So this is wrong, right? But second, both statement 2 and statement 3 are correct, but only one of them explains statement 1. What is statement 1? Earth axis. By moving of the earth axis, what we discussed, by moving of the earth axis, when 22 it is hot ball, 24 it is cold ball, right? When it is hot, more and more polar ice caps are melting. So statement 3 is having some relation with the statement 1, but we cannot say only statement 3 is having some relation with statement 1. Here we are having or. This is why syllogisms are important. This is why syllogism is important. In syllogism we will be having this kind of statement. So here question is, when it is either or, that will be your answer. Both statement 2 and statement 3 are correct, but only one of them explains statement 1. Am I clear? See how they are asking the question. Let us understand the second question. This is one of the typical question of civil services. Let us analyze the second question. If we go for the next question, see, this is a direct question. This is a direct question, but it requires little analysis, right? Now, Red Sea receives very little precipitation in any form. No water enter Red Sea. Here keyword is Red Sea. Whenever we see Red Sea, immediately go to the rough page. And what we do in the rough page? Red Sea. Red Sea. Red Sea is an rift valley. It is breakage between Asia and Africa. If you see the Red Sea, right? If you see, Africa comes like this, Asia comes like this, right? Here it will be joined. Africa, this is Africa and this is Asia, right? This is Red Sea. This is Red Sea, right? That means initially both are together. But due to some conditions, they are separated. That means that these two are separated. That is why we are having Africa, we are having Asia, right? But that means Red Sea is not from the beginning. Red Sea is not a sea. It came in the middle, right? But when this is ocean, when this open ocean entered here, right? But that means the area where Red Sea, it is not the original sea. If we have this in the mind, right? But then this will be very easy, because Red Sea is not in the nature's navigation. Red Sea doesn't come into the natural rainfall. Red Sea doesn't come into natural rainfall, so we'll be having very less precipitation. Second, Red Sea is not in the natural navigation, because no rivers are having navigation, right? Rivers doesn't have Red Sea in their mind, so no river will be coming into the Red Sea, right? Again, the statement is correct. See here, the concept is Red Sea formed in between. Red Sea is not from the starting. Red Sea is a nature's mistake. Let us analyze like this. Red Sea is a nature's mistake, right? When there is a nature's mistake, nature will not give anything to it. That is the question. See, this is what important in UPSC. Common sense. Always think with the common sense, right? Here the answer is both 1 and 2, right? See, we are not giving importance to what is asked in the question. Here we are holding the grip of keyword. Again, if we analyze this, this is one of the typical mindset of UPSC. Which one of the following are correct? Now, if an experienced aspirant, he feels there is something here. That is, stress has been given. What is the stress has been given? Is, are, inference, inferences. Stress is given in singular, plural. Stress is given in singular, plural. Experienced aspirant who done many questions, who has done many questions. That experienced aspirant, what he does is, question may be singular, because they are giving the hint, right? But there is no need to argue is or are, inference or inferences. But that means they are saying that there is something to do with the singular or plural. So analyze any one statement. If one statement is correct, you will get the answer. See, isotherms deviate to north over the ocean and to the south over the continent. What is isotherm? Therm here is temperature. Iso means same. The lines which are joining, basic in English knowledge we should be having here, right? The lines which are joining the same temperature is called as isotherms, right? These isotherms, deviating north and deviating south is, they are asking about a graph, increase and decrease. See, that is why most of the experienced aspirants, faculties and people who got into the civil service, they say My English, understanding of English is mandatory for UPSC. Here your personal ideology should not come, right? I am born in India. I am from Hindustan. I'll be speaking my local language. I'm from Telugu. I'll be only speaking Telugu, right? But this doesn't come under professional life. In professional life, when our official language is English, you should go for the official language, right? So see, they are saying that isotherms deviate not. That means north means graph is increasing, south means graph is decreasing, right? Node under antinode, crust under trough, right? Waxing and waning of the curve, right? All are the implications of increase and decreasing of the graph, right? So they are saying that they are not saying that in the northern hemisphere isotherms increase, in the southern hemisphere isotherms decrease, right? What they are saying, isotherm deviate to north over the ocean, right? That means when I take the temperature contours on the ocean, temperature will be high. When I take the contours on the land, temperature will be less. Simple English is this. If I change the statement, the isotherms are high on the ocean, isotherms are low on the continent, or isotherms are waxing on the ocean, isotherms are waning on the continent, right? But just they are asking English here. Am I clear? So the isotherms, obviously oceans will be warm when compared to the land, because oceans are having liquid, land is having solid. Liquid heats slowly, liquid cools slowly. Solid heats rapidly, solid cools rapidly, right? Obviously this statement is correct. This statement is correct. Here they are asking about just a graph. This is UPSC. If question is simple, if the statement they want to ask is simple, they will increase the concept of English. Try to understand this. Next, the presence of cold oceanic currents, Gulf Stream, North Atlantic Drift make North Atlantic Ocean warmer. North Atlantic Ocean is warmer. That is why it has more trade routes, right? It is not colder, it is warmer. See, simple change of the, it is like true or false. Am I clear? So second statement is wrong. So what is the answer? Answer is 1. Analyze. To analyze this, you need to practice you need to practice number of questions, right? That is what we as Samiksha we are doing, right? We are giving classes, more than classes, we are giving importance for the questions, right? Now we are planning to give nearly 80 sets of question papers or 80 sets of examinations, in which each and every question will be discussed, right? According to the situation, according to the condition, we are discussing all the questions. So 80, we are practicing nearly 80 question papers, 80 examinations. That means you will be with 8,000 questions. Nearly you will be ready with the 8,000 questions. In the due course, you will understand how we are analyzing the questions, right? But that is why practicing more questions is important. That is what we here doing as Samiksha, right? Now, so this is question. What is the question? Question is simple. When the question is simple, they made complicated in the English. Now, if we go to the next question, this is a question which has day-to-day activities. Atmosphere is heated more by incoming solar radiation than by terrestrial radiation. Carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases in the atmosphere are good observers of long wave radiation, right? Here if we want to observe, see, this is surface of the earth. I'm sorry. This is surface of the earth. Here we are having clouds. These clouds are having two different conditions. From the sun, this is incoming solar radiation. From the sun, solar radiation will be in the short wave radiation. From the earth, it will be in the long wave radiation. So what clouds do is, clouds are transparent for incoming, clouds are opaque for outgoing. That means cloud doesn't allow X radiation, cloud only allows solar radiation. So what happens? Whatever X radiation, it is falling back again. As it is falling back again, it is heating. So the atmosphere is heated because of X radiation, not incoming solar. Incoming solar radiation does not heat the earth, right? Earth is heated by the outgoing X radiation. This is called as global warming. In our classes, we'll be discussing more deep about this, right? Very important for the examination. So what is this statement? What is this? The atmosphere is heated more by incoming solar radiation than by the terrestrial radiation. Right now, here Earth is heated more by the terrestrial radiation. Am I clear? But the question they are asking is atmosphere is heated by the more incoming solar radiation. Right? Next, carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, good absorbers of long wave radiation. Carbon dioxide and greenhouse gases are good absorbers of long wave radiation. Right now, carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases, they does not allow. They does not allow means they are observing and they are reflecting. They are reflecting means they are observing. Right? What is the difference between glass and a mirror? Right? In the glass, your reflection is not allowed. Right? But in the mirror, your reflection is allowed. Why? Because glass is not observing your reflection, but mirror is observing your reflection. Right? Once it is absorbing, right? That means it is reflecting. Here the same concept. Carbon dioxide, because of the gases which are present here, this is becoming opaque. Right? When this is becoming opaque, obviously second statement will be right. First statement will be wrong. So what is the answer? Statement 1 is correct. Statement 1 is incorrect. Statement 2 is wrong. Right? See, again you need to have the concept. Without concept, geography, we cannot analyze question in the geography. Right? Now, same question. See, that was 2023. Same type of question asked in 2023. That was 24. This is 23. And same type of question was asked in 22. This is one of the strategy. Of UPSC. They will pick a topic. For example, in 2013, 14 and 15, what happened? They picked the topic of Buddhism. Right? Right 3 years down the line, we are having questions on Buddhism, right? In the same way, they picked a topic called as solar radiation, right? Right down the line 3-4 years, we'll be having solar radiation, right? This is how to analyze the question, right? If we go, this is one of the question from the Indian geography, and this kind of questions we should not. This kind of questions we should not attempt in the last. These are the questions where you are taking the risk, right? If you are good with 60 questions, don't attend this kind of questions, because there is 90% of chances to make this question wrong. To have this question, you should have more than 100 facts. Just to solve this question, you should have more than 100 facts in your mind, right? For one question, let us think 10 facts are necessary. Right? For one question, 10 facts are necessary. For 100 questions, 1000 facts are necessary. Right? This is not how we are preparing for civil services. Right? They directly asked a reservoir and a state. Right? How many states are there in India? How many reservoirs are there in India? How will remember? And here question is, they are asking which are not matched, which are not correctly matched. Right? So this will take time. My advice here is, this kind of question, this is which is not important, right? If you leave this question, nothing happens. Am I clear? This kind of techniques will go in our classes. Right? Next. This kind of actual question we should attempt. Previous question we should not attempt. This we should attempt. Which one of the following is the best example for? See, best example for repeated false, sea level, present day extensive marshland, right? Here the question is about marshland. What are marshlands? Normally marshlands are the areas where we are having clay or silt or swamps. Where we are having clay, silt or swamp, right? That means where we are having more amount of sludge, right? This is normally near where river will be joining into the ocean, right? If river directly joins into the ocean, we have less swamps. But sometimes what happens, the river mean sea level is lower than the sea's mean sea level. So what happens, this sea water will be coming here, and here will be having a lake. This will be called as backwater lake. The example is Pulicat Lake. Or Chilaka Lake, where Bittarkanika mangroves are there. This is one kind of marshy lands, right? These are the normal marshy lands where we'll be having mangroves. where we'll be having mangroves, right? What are second type of marshy lands? Second type of marshy lands are Gulf. Now, if land is here and here we are having ocean, here we are having ocean, so land is in the U shape. Land is in a U shape. When high tide will be coming, water will be accumulating here. This tide cannot go back. When this tide cannot go back, water gets accumulated here. As temperature, daily temperature increases, what happens? Water evaporates and salt is accumulated. This is happening for million years. Whenever high tide, water will be coming, salt is accumulating. Water is coming, salt is accumulating, right? See, repeat falls in the sea level. Answer is Run of Kutch, because this is a mangrove, this is a mangrove, this is a mangrove. Am I clear? So that means analyzing the question is highly important, right? Particularly in geography, answer is in the question. Particularly in geography, answer in the question. So, to conclude my session here, what I want to say here is, first thing we should be having is discipline. First thing we should be having is discipline. My second important thing is common sense, and third important thing is observance. Fourth important thing is subject. Here subject is our foundation. Subject is our foundation. Once you have the foundation, then one pillar is discipline, second pillar is observation, third pillar is analysis, fourth pillar is common sense, right? So to have these pillars very strong, our subject should be very strong. Am I clear? So that means have the basic subject, then questions are in our hand, because we need these four pillars: discipline, observation, analysis, and common sense, right? These four are important in particularly in geography for civil services. Clear? Thank you.